Welcome to the tutorial for free mass traffic software. We are going to be covering the three different parts of the software, and in this one we are going to be covering the mass directory submitter. So when you open up your free mass traffic software, this is the interface that you see here. Now as you can look around, first glance it looks a bit complicated, but it really is not. It is very straightforward and very simple. After you use it a couple of times, you'll become very familiar with how everything works. So the first thing we want to do is have a quick navigation around. Here we can see what projects we are working on. Here we have three modes, and we'll go through each one by one. You have automatic, you have browser, and you have one click. Here you have the information that you fill out, and we're going to go through an example in a minute. On the right hand side here you can see all the categories for each submission service. Here, down here, we can see the actual directory submission services. There's plenty of them here, there's loads, and these are kind of some of the top ones that are out there. And we have the submission buttons. So the first thing we need to do when you want to submit your URL is you need to create a project. So what you need to do is add a project here. So you click on add, and here you have the box. Now we have a example URL that we're going to be using. So what we'll do, let's call it a project name. Now we have an example site, and it's called Foods That Burn Belly Fat Fast. So this is our example. So you just name the project what you're going to be referring it to as. The link title. So if you have a specific title that you use for the URL that you're going to be submitting, then put that in. But for purposes of this tutorial, we will just use the same wording. And once you have put the link title in there, you can put numerous ones. Just click on add, and that has added that there. If you want to put a description text to describe it, then once again you do the same thing. Now for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll just put the same writing. We click add. So make sure you click add. Now here you need to put the website URL in full. So do include the HTTP. Here you need to put your keywords. If you need to find out what your keywords are, then Google has its own free keyword tool. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll just put a couple of keywords. Separate each one by a comma. Here you need to put your first name. And here you need to put your last name. Now one thing to bear in mind, guys, you only put this in the once for each project. You don't have to keep on doing it. Here you have to put an email address. Now there's a strong recommendation that you do not use one of the free email services that are out there, i.e. Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, and so forth. It is highly recommended that you create a email address related to your domain. So here the domain is Foods That Burn Belly Fat Fast. We would create, or I would encourage you to create, a separate email. Now this is for the purposes that a lot of the directory services do not like the free emails. They prefer that you have one related to the URL that you are submitting. So you could put something like directory at so forth, whatever email website it may be .com. So here we have info at Foods That Burn Belly Fat Fast.com URL. Now without getting too technical to confuse some of you guys, a reciprocal URL is you need to create a sub page on your site. It's highly recommended. So as an example, we have foodsthatburnbellyfatfast.com. Here you have a reciprocal URL site, and you would create a separate page, and it will be foodsthatburnbellyfatfast.com/directory. If it's a HTML based website, then you would have foodsthatburnbellyfatfast.com. If it was a WordPress directory.html. The reason for this is when you're submitting your URL to the directory submission services, some of them will send a link back. So for this purposes, it's highly recommended that you create a separate page. Once again, this is very easy to do, and you just put that URL in here. So ours is a HTML site at the moment. So here I would put HTTP /HTML directory.html. So that is what we would put there. If it was a WordPress site, you would just put because that is the URL extension of a WordPress site. So here we haven't actually created a separate page, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to put the same URL. Now here you need to put a username, because remember, this creates the accounts at each respective directory submission site. So choose a username. So here we will put John S008. Password, just choose a password. It's good to make a note of this stuff, but the software will memorize it all. So here you now choose your category that your site falls into. So ours will fall under health, so you click on health. You can choose if you want to autofill the submission file, page. It's highly recommended that you do that. Now once you have filled all this in, you now click save. That has now told us that that has been saved. So let's now close this page down here. If we go here, you can see here that the project has now been saved. So you can click on that, and here you see, look, it has filled everything out automatically. So it's filled out the URL, it's filled out obviously the title, and you can choose what title. Remember, you can put numerous ones down. The description, the name, the email, the keywords, reciprocal link. So if you want to change any of this, then you can just put down whatever you want. You can put down Smith, you can put down Kelly, and so forth. So here we will choose John Smith, save the project, and here we go. It saved all the changes. So every time you want to save the changes, then click on to edit project. So let's now refresh this. So here we have, we have all that there. Now you have three modes in which you can submit in. You have one-click, automatic, and browser. Now, quite simply put, automatic submits all in one go. The browser, it brings the actual submission site in this window here, and you have one click where you choose however many you want it to submit to, and it will do it one by one. So let's click on automatic. So if you go down here, you see the various submission services. You can unselect all, and you can select whatever you want it to submit to. Unselect all again. So if we just choose, as an example, let's just choose this one here. Okay, let's just choose this one here. And here, so when you click on each one, what happens is each obviously submission service has its own category. So you can choose which one it's going to be, if it's alternative, fitness, free games, so forth. Ours is health. Now what happens is, because we have already chosen health as our topic, our category, it will automatically choose health in the categories for all the other submission services. But what you do have, you have the option to kind of go in and go a bit more deeper, because it's worth bearing in mind that not every submission service will have the exact same amount of categories or categories listed if you go really specific. So if yours is a very generic niche, ours is health, then that's fine. If you want to go really specific, then it's encouraged that you go through each one by one. And once you are finished, then you just click submit down here, and it's awaiting approval. So that is what you do in automatic. And if you want to see your report, then you can just save the report here by clicking on Save Reports. You can save that wherever you want to do. It saves it as a CSV file, so you can open it up. So you have that. So that was automatic. If we go to one click, let's unselect all. Let's now go down and let's just say we want to click. We're only just choosing a couple for the purposes of time. So let's just do this here. And you just click here, Start Submission. And as you can see here, it's starting to submit the directories to the sites that you have chosen. So as that runs, obviously you can just see it's going through here. Now we're not going to wait about for this. You can see the progress tab over here, and it tells you what it is that you need to do. So obviously, if in your situation, if you're going to be submitting to all the submission services, then do click select all, and then you can submit. And every time once it's finished, you can get the submission status here. Okay, so here we see that we submitted. All the details are written down here, and you can save this report once again. It saves it as a CSV file. So we have that there. Now if you click on browser, this might slow down a tad bit simply because that's still running in the background. So here we are. It's come out in the browser here. So browser is the more specific way of doing it. If you want to be very specific about what services you're submitting to, you can actually see what they are. So if we now click on this one here, AG Access, then that will load up in this browser here. And the same thing applies here. You can just go through and when it finds the appropriate section here, so here